Hello everyone, it's Margaret Buj, interview coach, and welcome to this webinar. I decided to record this training session because we live in an unprecedented time and it's completely normal to feel anxious and unsettled about the prospects of the job market in the coming weeks. Nobody knows with 100% certainty what's going to happen. However, I wanted to share with you what I am seeing from my perspective as a recruiter and interview coach. So what we're going to cover today is the impact of coronavirus on the job market. Are companies hiring right now and will they continue to hire? What should we expect over the next few weeks or a few months? Should you change your job search strategy? I also will share some information about what recruiters are looking for on your CV, resume. This is actually information I've only so far shared in my online course, Get the Job You Want, but these are such hard times that I wanted to give you some of these tips, some of these insider tips that I think will help you when you're applying for positions. I will also talk about how to prepare for video interviews because that's one of the current trends. Interviews are moving to video. And finally, I will talk about how you can get a free 20-minute coaching session with me. So let's get started. Firstly, if you don't know me, I am an interview and career coach with 14 years of recruitment and coaching experience. During this time, I've recruited very internationally and across all different levels and functions for some of the most well-known companies in the world, mostly in technology and e-commerce sector. And also as an interview coach, I've worked with hundreds of people, maybe thousands right now actually, worldwide to help them get the jobs and promotions they wanted. I am also an author of Land That Job ebook. So let's get started with the topic of today. So what's the impact of coronavirus on the job market? So firstly, hiring is getting different. I think it will take longer. I think that offers and start dates might be postponed. But from what I'm seeing, companies are still hiring. However, the interviews are moving to video or phone and on-site interviews are moving to video interviews. But companies still have goals, and while some of them are putting hiring on hold, a lot of them are still hiring. In fact, a friend of mine, she just received an offer. She's starting in a couple of weeks. Another friend is also starting her job a month from now. So there are lots of companies still posting jobs. The job market isn't dead. Yes, the companies will be impacted and suffer, but nobody knows to which extent yet. Of course, not every occupation and industry will be affected in the same way. Companies in travel, food services, hospitality, and event planning have been especially hard hit. However, many industries or companies are growing and hiring right now. For example, if a company or product is focused on remote work, like Microsoft Teams or Zoom or Slack, they are probably doing quite well. Same for online learning companies. Millions of students are out of school and millions of adults will be learning new skills. I also think that food delivery service and digital entertainment and video games will be popular with social distancing that we are experiencing. As I mentioned, interviews are moving to video or a phone. So you will see companies moving to video interviews. I currently recruit for Avanade. It's a global IT consulting company, joint venture between Accenture and Microsoft. All of our interviews have moved to video, and also even the onboarding is done remotely. So we're not even postponing the start dates, we're just doing onboarding remotely. And things will take longer. So unfortunately, we need to practice patience. Rise of remote work. I have been seeing more employers show flexibility when it comes to their hiring process and how they allow employees to work. So while this is a difficult time for everyone, I think it's going to push employers in the right direction in the long term to be flexible and offer remote work options for those who want it or need it. This will bring about changes that employers have traditionally been slow to adopt. I am personally excited to see the rise of remote work. I think we've all made fun, well, I have certainly, fun of that meeting that could have been an email, but now employers are faced with the reality of a fully remote workforce. This could completely change the way we work forever. Flexibility will be rewarded. So right now there are a lot of unknowns, and hiring someone is an investment. So I think that the more flexible and possibly non-permanent you can make your situation, the better. So be the candidate who understands the concerns. Maybe offer your services, if appropriate, on a contract basis or temporary basis, or offer a 90-day trial period. And also, I would say, don't lose confidence, as things will take longer. This has nothing to do with you. So if you are in the interview process now, make sure that you follow up maybe once a week, and just don't take it personally if you're not hearing back, because your recruiter is probably waiting for information from someone else. Competition is going to increase. I think that's one thing to prepare for. As more companies are letting people go, competition is going to drastically increase. While you can't control these factors, you can get a head start by continuing to job search now. So line up interviews, keep networking and contacting hiring managers, and you will give yourself the best chance of finding a new job. So how should you change your job search strategy? So normally I would tell you, don't rely on online applications, because that's not a very effective way of finding a job. And I would normally tell you to contact people to conduct informational interviews. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that completely, but I would probably temporarily put a pause on cold emailing for now. By that, I mean emailing people you haven't had contact with before. I think right now people might be at home, stuck with their kids, worried about their jobs. Their lives have been completely overturned. So I just don't think they need any more pressure than what they already have. Also, think about the problems that companies are facing and be ready to offer solutions. The way to get hired is to show prospective employers that you have the skills they need. So decode the job listing and emphasize your most valuable qualifications in your cover letter, in the profile section of your CV, and in job interviews. And be ready to offer solutions. This is a challenging time for employers as well as workers. If you can show the hiring manager that you've got what it takes to help the company succeed, you will increase your chances of getting hired. Leverage LinkedIn, and also make sure that you open to new opportunities on the platform. So LinkedIn is really an amazing resource right now. Recruiters are using it to find candidates, and with spike in remote work, relationship building is moving online. So start getting active, comment on posts, engage with people, share things that you like. Also, you can, there is an option on LinkedIn that you can show recruiters outside of your own company. It's not visible to recruiters in your own company, that you open to new opportunities. So you can Google how to do that, but just click on the Me icon at the top of your LinkedIn homepage, select Settings and Privacy from the drop-down, click the Privacy tab at the top of the page, and under the job seeking preferences, click Change next to let recruiters know that you open to new opportunities. So you can let the recruiters know what kind of roles you are interested in and in what locations. And don't just apply online, but that's an advice I would give you at any other time. So talk to your friends and colleagues, tell people that you're job searching, ask who they can introduce you to, and offer to help them as well. This is really a great time to reconnect with past colleagues and catch up with friends who you haven't spoken to recently. People are coming together online and helping each other. This is the best time to network because people are open to talking and open to helping. And personal branding is more important than ever. So what shows up when someone Googles your name? When they look you up on LinkedIn? The way that you show up online matters. And if you want to stand out, you need to control your online presence. So start getting involved online, write posts on LinkedIn, engage. That's really how you're going to win in this market. And also prepare, but don't panic. So think about what you need to do now to give yourself security and peace. Maybe that's updating your resume and LinkedIn profile, connecting with recruiters in your industry on LinkedIn, or engaging more with your current connections. And finally, keep applying. Don't let up. The market still has opportunities, and the people who land them are going to be the ones who are intentional and persistent with their search. I also wanted to give you tips on what recruiters are looking for on a resume or on a CV. A lot of CVs I receive are, very duty oriented. So I can't really tell how good the person is based on what they put on their CV. So I wanted just to give you some tips on what recruiters are looking for. When we have 100 applications to review, what do we want? What are we looking for? So firstly, the first thing employers are thinking when they evaluate your CV is, does this person have the skills and experience necessary to come in, learn this role successfully, and start contributing to our efforts quickly? The best way to decide this is by looking at what you've accomplished for other employers. So if you have any work experience at all, it's the first place a recruiter or hiring manager is going to look at. I would recommend spending more time on this section than any other when writing your resume. When I look at the candidate's recent experience, I'm also trying to figure out what their status is. For example, if they've only been in the last position for 3 months, it's probably not the best time for me to reach out. If the candidate is contacting me directly, why are they looking so soon? There obviously could be legitimate reasons for that, but in general, it's a red flag if someone is looking for a new role after only a few months, unless, of course, it's a contract. But most importantly, is the most recent experience relevant for the position for which I'm hiring? Secondly, company recognition. It's not that some companies are better than others, although some most certainly are. It's purely a matter of how quickly I can assign a frame of reference. So this is also known as credibility. So if you've worked for a large company like Microsoft or Amazon, then you're probably accustomed to working on projects at scale. If you have worked for a well-known crash and burn startup, then you've probably worn many hats and have been running at a sprinter pace. So depending on which industry you are in, there are some pretty blatant associations I can make simply by recognizing a company name. Because recruiters have generally been doing this job for a while, we notice patterns and trends amongst candidates from certain companies, and we formulate assumptions as a result. There are edge cases, and of course our assumptions can fail us, but again, this is a CV review, so we are talking less than a 20-second analysis. Assigning a frame of reference is often more difficult to do when the candidate has only worked for obscure companies I've never heard of. When I can't assign company recognition, it just means I have to read the resume a little deeper, which usually isn't an issue unless it's poorly formatted, poorly written, or with spelling errors, in which case you might have lost my interest. Overall experience and your story and career progression. So what we are also looking at is there a career progression? Does this person have increasing levels of responsibility? Do the titles make sense? Are you a VP of marketing of a 5-person company? Well, I could be too. So do the responsibilities listed match what I'm looking for? I am also looking at the job titles and responsibilities you've held. I'm looking at the dates of employment for previous positions and how long you've been with each employer. Also, try to show progression whenever you can within companies and when changing between companies. So even if you've received a slight upgrade in job title with a company, make sure to highlight that. For example, if you've advanced from sales associate to senior sales associate. Gaps. I don't mind gaps as long as there's a sufficient explanation. So maybe you've had 2 years off to raise your children, or you tried starting your own company. That's fine. It's the absence of an explanation that sometimes makes me wonder. If you have big gaps in employment or an unusual career progression, it's not a deal breaker. However, I would recommend addressing it in a cover letter. As a recruiter, if I spot some concerning moves or gaps, I would often look for a cover letter to see it as an explanation. Try to make your work history as clear as possible and be upfront about addressing any red flags or unusual moves you've made with the recruiter you're working with, or they won't feel comfortable forwarding your resume to the hiring manager. Keywords. So keyword search. What are the keywords that you see on the job descriptions? Because if you have that experience, if you have those hard skills in particular, make sure that the same keywords are included on your CV, on your resume. So do you have the specific experience for the role I'm hiring for? If I am looking for a JavaScript engineer, then of course the JavaScript needs to be on your CV to be considered. Then what's also important is the overall organization of your CV. That this includes spelling, grammar, ease of use, ability to clearly present ideas. If you're in marketing and you've lost me in the first 3 bullet points, then that could be a concern. And finally, personal online footprint. Now, that's not required, not for all of the positions anyway. Of course, you will have your portfolio if you're a graphic designer, and a lot of people will include a LinkedIn profile. But in general, if you have included any links, I'm going to click on them. So whether it's your LinkedIn profile, your personal website, Twitter handle, etc., anything that you've chosen to list. So ensure that you don't have any information or pictures online and available for everyone to see that put you in a negative light. So I hope that you found that useful. And another thing that's very important to do is that you learn how to quantify your experience. So as mentioned, a lot of CVs RC are very duty oriented. So I can look at 20 CVs and they all look kind of the same. Like I can't tell how good that person is at doing the job. So here are some examples of how you can quantify your experience. So let's look at that. So for example, coordinated team events at the best yet economical locations, saving expenses by 30%. Or introduced a user-friendly electronic filing system which reduced file retrieval time by 40%. Attained a title of Best Employer of 2019 by providing excellent customer service. So how can you quantify your experience? Have you saved time? Have you made or saved money? Have you improved the procedure? Whatever you've done that really has made an impact, try to quantify that. So it's important to quantify your experience, but even though most people understand the general idea of this, I find that job seekers often struggle with applying this idea to writing their CVs. So, it's easy if you're a salesperson, you can talk about your percentage achievements and give examples of deals that you've closed. But what if you are not in a sales role? So let me give you 3 easy ways to quantify your experience. Firstly, show how many. Sometimes our responsibilities don't sound that impressive until we start detailing how much work we've been doing. For instance, if one of your job responsibilities is tracking your company's compliance with filing a set of forms every year, you could write that in 2 different ways. Ensured compliance with filing of annual forms, or ensured compliance with the filing of 75 annual forms by 7 different company departments. So doesn't the second example sound much more impressive? You can also show how much. If you have a job in sales, marketing, or any other business where profitability is the ultimate goal of your position, citing exactly how much money you've either made or saved your company is the way to go. For example, if you're an internal auditor, your resume could say, saved company money by finding ways to cut costs, or implemented new payroll and tax accounting systems that saved my firm 1 million in personal costs over the next 10 years. Now, the numbers don't have to be that impressive. It's not about that. It's just about quantifying your experience. And a final way is to show how often. So even an administrative assistant's job can sound completely different when given some context. So instead of saying that you answered phones at the front desk, you can mention that you have managed switchboard with 10 incoming lines, effectively receiving and routing an average of 500 calls per day. Who wouldn't hire the second candidate, right? So as you write your resume, as you write your CV, ask yourself these 3 important questions. How many? How much? How often? The key to landing an interview, especially during a challenging time right now, during the coronavirus, is to answer those questions as you describe your previous professional accomplishments. And you also need to be able to tailor your CV to specific vacancies. I talk about it in my online course, and I will let you know soon how you can get access to it at a huge discount. So I also finally wanted to give you some tips on how to prepare for video interviews. As I mentioned, that's one of the current trends. Interviews are moving to mostly video interviews. So you have to be prepared, because a lot of people, I mean, a lot of companies have been doing video interviews for many years, but not all of the companies. You know, for some companies, this is actually pretty new, and they've been doing, they mostly been doing face-to-face interviews. So here is how to prepare. Firstly, you would want to make sure that you test your audio and camera prior to your interview. You don't want to have any problems at the start of the interview. So make sure that you're online a few minutes before, just test it. Elevate your laptop as well to avoid staring down into the camera, because that's usually quite an unflattering angle. Check lighting in the room. So ideally you want to be facing the light. I sometimes speak to clients on Skype and I'm like, I can't even see you, because they sitting facing backwards to the light. So ideally you want to do the interview in the daylight, but if that's not possible, just make sure that there's enough lighting that the interviewer can actually see your face. And I would also close all other applications on your laptop, just to ensure there are no interruptions. Dress professionally. So I would dress in the same way that you would dress for a face-to-face interview. I mean, maybe you don't need to wear a suit, but you definitely want to look professional. And, I've seen a candidate wearing just like a t-shirt and tracksuit bottoms. It honestly doesn't look very professional. I've heard of a candidate who answered the phone in their bed, I mean, on the sofa, but I mean, how unprofessional is that? So you would want to dress professionally, and then position yourself at the table against the plain neutral background. Make sure that there's no laundry in the background, and also look inside the camera lens. So most of the time when you look at the screen, that's when you see the interviewer's face. But if you want to look like if you're looking in their eye and keeping that eye contact, ideally you want to look at the camera lens most of the time. Have a copy of your CV and your resume and pen and paper at hand, in case, well, I guess you would want to make some notes during the interview as well. And I also think the benefit of a video interview is that you can attach some post-it notes around your laptop screen with prompts and questions that you want to ask the interviewer. So that's obviously the one benefit over an on-site interview. I would also recommend that you have the phone number of the interviewer in case of technical problems. I've had that situation actually just literally this week. For some reason, there were technical problems with the Microsoft Teams, which normally don't happen, but just the candidate had problems. So thankfully, we actually, I gave the interviewer the telephone number of the candidate, but in general, it's best to have the telephone number of the interviewer just in case the recruiter might not be around. And of course, the other prep is the same as the face-to-face interview. So you would have fully researched the company, you know who your interviewer is, and you would have prepared your examples to all of the common interview questions, but also examples to all of the typical competency-based interview questions. So examples of challenging situations and achievements and influencing and working under pressure using the STAR or CAR format, so challenge, action, result. So how can you get a free 20-minute coaching session with me? So while I do offer free consultations at any time, these actually aren't coaching sessions. So the free consultation that I offer, this is for me to find out more about your situation and suggest a suitable solution. However, for anyone who gets my Get the Job You Want online course, until the end of April, you can get the course for only £39, that's about $45 instead of £97, with the coupon code OFFER39 when you check out at the link that you can see on the screen. So anyone who purchases the course can get a completely free 20-minute coaching session. Send me your CV or send me your resume before and literally ask me any questions. Like you can literally keep asking me questions for 20 minutes, whether you want feedback on your CV, you want some help with your job search strategy, you have some specific questions about your specific situation or any specific interview questions or salary negotiation, I will be there for you. It will be a phone or a Skype coaching session. If you're outside of the UK, it's probably going to happen on Skype or Zoom. And what you get inside of the course is 5 training webinars. So the webinars focus on how to get more interviews in a competitive job market, how to optimize your LinkedIn profile so that recruiters actually come to you. And, I have over 24,000 LinkedIn connections. So I've created that based on my experience. I talk about how to sell yourself as the best person for the job, and also how the salary negotiation game is played and how to really negotiate the best salary that you can. All of these training webinars have subtitles and also class transcripts in case you prefer reading instead of watching, or if you just want to print out and read at your convenience. I also give you a lot of fantastic handouts, so you get a great, really interview generating CV template. You will get career networking scripts, salary negotiation scripts, a list of job search activities that you should be doing weekly. You also get CV and LinkedIn profile checklists, and also examples of competency-based questions and answers, which will make it easier for you to create your own answers. So you get all of that for just £39, $45. And on top of that, you get a 20-minute coaching session with me. I normally charge £230 for an hour and a half face-to-face session, £185 for an hour and a half session. So this is a complete bargain, but I just want to help anyone who's affected by the coronavirus situation. Also, if you want to connect with me, feel free to send me either an email at margaret@interview-coach.co.uk. And also you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, or you can watch my videos on YouTube. So I really hope that you found this training session useful. I'm sure the situation will be changing over the next few weeks, and I think we all hope and pray that the coronavirus situation won't last forever. But I really hope that you found it useful, and if you have any questions at all, please feel free to contact me. So thank you so much for watching, and I will hope to speak to you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.